Hello everybody, my scientists. First off, I hope you are all having a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in to this Facebook Live. My name, as always, is Cole, and this summer, Camp Innovation at the Arizona Science Center is going to be taking over our Facebook Live so that instructors, like me, can give you some insights into the amazing activities that we're doing in these camps. If you're at all interested in signing up for one of these, I believe we still have a few slots open. You can check those out on our website, azscience.org. Now that that's all out of the way, this week we have been running our secret agent camp. And all week long we've been talking about some secret agent skills like lockpicking. We've been learning about DNA and whatnot. We've been learning how to make some crazy cool gadgets like periscopes and devices to look through keyholes and doors. But today, we're going to be talking about another aspect of being a secret agent that we don't really talk about as much. Because secret agents aren't just responsible for thwarting villains and saving the day, they're also responsible for solving crimes. And so the tools that we're going to be learning about today is going to be entirely about fingerprinting. Now, what is a fingerprint? Go ahead in the comments below, type what you think a fingerprint might be. I'll give you a second to go ahead and do that. And a second has passed. So, a fingerprint is these little tiny ridges that are on the tips of your fingers. These tiny ridges are called friction ridges, and scientists believe they allow us extra gripping ability when it comes to grabbing onto objects. If our fingertips were entirely smooth, we wouldn't be able to hold on to things as well. And seeing as that's super important for survival, it's allowed our species to proliferate and expand much more than if we had really, really smooth fingers. It'd be a little bit more difficult if we had it smooth. They actually get formed in a really interesting way. So when you are forming inside of your mother's womb, the fluid surrounding you actually presses into your developing fingers and causes these different shapes and patterns. Now, what's super unique about that is that because everybody's situation is different while they are growing, it causes all of their fingerprints to come out entirely differently. So you have a very unique set of fingerprints as opposed to your brothers, your sisters, your friends, your families, and even strangers on the street. Everybody has their own unique set. Now, this is super important to forensic scientists like us this week and secret agents because it allows us to figure out who's been at a crime scene if they leave any fingerprints behind. Fingerprints get left behind when these really, really small ridges, these friction ridges, end up either disturbing dust on countertops or when the oils on our skin gets left behind and leaves the imprint of the fingerprint. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a quick way that you, in your very own house, can dust for fingerprints. Now, before you do this, make sure you ask your family, like your parents, if it's okay for you to do this because it gets a little bit messy. So all you need is a roll of see-through tape. I just have some basic Scotch tape right here. You don't need anything too fancy. The clearer you can get, the better. We also have a white powder of some sort. I recommend using cornstarch, but baking soda, anything along those lines works as well. And then, of course, you need something to pull a fingerprint off of. So I found this plastic petri dish that I believe is smudged a little bit by someone. And so what I'm going to end up doing is the first step of the fingerprinting lifting process. So what you first want to do is you want to take a brush. One thing that I forgot to mention that you're going to need a small brush of some sort, and you're going to dip it in your white powder, just the very top of it. You don't want it to be too much. That might be too much, so I'm going to shake it off a little bit, because I don't want it to clump on there. I just want it to very, very lightly paint this petri dish with powder. I'm going to maybe add a little bit more. All right, so we got it on there. Now what I'm going to do, in order to find a fingerprint, is I'm just going to very, very lightly brush it. Tap it a little bit, see if I find anything. All right, let's get a little bit more on there. All right, looks like it's getting a little bit wild, but we should be able to discern a fingerprint on here somewhere. It looks like we might have one right about here. It's very, very light. if I go with the curves, you can kind of see there's a few swirls right here. So it looks like it might be someone's fingerprint. Now, I would say that these might just be from the brush, but if you look very carefully, you can tell they're very symmetrical, and they're all kind of curving in the same shape right there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try to add as much on there as possible. So the oils on your skin are super important because they actually allow your skin to protect itself from bad bacteria that might want to grow on there. It's actually a little bit acidic, which is just a cool, fun science fact for you. But in the case of forensic scientists, it's also very important because it leaves behind traces that we can find and then study and identify later in a lab. So I have a piece of tape. What I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to find that fingerprint one more time. It's right about here. I'm going to place this down. Best of my ability, there's some clumps there, so it might not be perfect. In fact, it probably won't be perfect, but that's okay because in science, you have multiple opportunities most time to get your results. I'll pull it up, and it looks like we got a little bit of it right about there. It's very, very faint. So this isn't the best specimen, but I want to challenge you all to see if you can do better than I did in this video. And then we're going to lay it down here and observe it later on. Look very, very carefully. You can see there's some traces of that fingerprint right there. So that's one way you can do it. I recommend you maybe use a smaller brush or one that's bristles are a little bit more spread out to get a nice and a bit more even coat of that powder on there. But now that we've done this, I'm going to show you another way that you can observe your very own fingerprints at home. So for this activity, all you need is a balloon, some sort of ink source. So I recommend an ink pad if you have it. It's a little bit messy, so maybe some markers and whatnot. And then a balloon pump of some sort. I'm using a balloon pump right now because I really don't want to take off my mask and blow into it. As you can see, I'm also wearing my mask right now just to make sure that my amazing cameraman Maverick is being safe while filming this. I hope you all are also wearing masks at home and washing your hands for at least 20 seconds whenever you interact with something. But now that the little PSA is out of the way, let's get back to the activity. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to pick out a finger that I'm probably not going to use too much later to make sure it doesn't get too messy. Let's go with the pointer finger. And I'm going to not tap it, I'm going to roll it in here so that the majority of my finger gets covered. And there we go. Super messy, covered in ink, pretty dirty. I'm going to maybe scrape off with just a little bit of that as well. All right, and next I'm going to take my balloon. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to tap it, I'm going to roll it on there. Like so. And then when I lift it, we are left behind with an imprint of my finger. Now this on its own is a great specimen actually. You can really see all the different ridges and the loops and whatnot. But, this is all dirty now. 1 second. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to inflate the balloon and it's going to cause the ink to spread out so that we can actually see what my fingerprint really looks like. So, put it on there, get a piece of top. And before you know it, we have an enlarged version of my fingerprint. Again, I recommend you guys all try this at home if you have the materials. This is a really cool way to do it. And when you're doing it, I want you to go ahead and see if your fingerprints match up or look similar to your family, to your siblings, to your parents, maybe even some of your friends. I mentioned it earlier, but see if you can remember why that might be different or might be the same. All right, friends. Thank you so much for tuning into this Facebook Live. We do these videos every single weekday at 12:30. Again, thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.